Hey, what's up? It's Ken back again with some more Warhammer. For a while now, I've been patiently waiting to discover what exactly furries are. For a long time, I thought it was a Xenos race in the Warhammer universe that I have yet to see. Some furry humanoid animals that I was just gonna be like, okay, now I see the resemblance to the furries that we have today in our society. For a long time now, I have been so confused about what is the hate for furries? Where are these furries? I've never come across them in any of the lore videos or any of the exploration that I have of the Warhammer universe. From what I've been told, they are demons or something like that from Slanesh, but yeah, like I said, I've never seen them. This is weird. Anyway, no. I have now just discovered that the space wolves are the furries. What? It's a confusing topic, to be sure. Anyway, there seems to be a lot of videos on Leman Russ, so I think I'm going to go with probably MajorKilll for right now, and then get into some shorter videos from Leman Russ over the next couple days. Without further ado, let's get into Space Wolves explained by MajorKilll, aka the Australian. Alright.
G'day, fuckheads. Now when I make a video that
right,
focuses
y'all.
on a specific group or faction, I'm always looking for unique gags. Whether this be Bretonia actually being ISIS, or Tyranids being a metaphor for America, I like to keep it original. I also like to challenge myself and not to be obvious all the time. Now Space Wolves are something my Discord has been bugging me about for a while. Probably because they're a bunch of filthy fucking degenerate furries, but sucks for them because I'll do everything I can to avoid making any furry jokes in this entire video, despite how easy it would be.
But MajorKilll, your original humor is childish and not very funny. Surely you should just copy other funnier YouTubers.
Shut your little cunt mouth, Timmy. My shit gags and unnecessary swearing has gotten me this far, and I don't intend to stop now. Not that anyone gives a fuck, but progress on the upcoming animated video is going well. The draft of the script is finished and currently being reviewed by people who probably should have written it instead of me. If you want to see the draft and offer some advice and tips, then DM me on Discord and I'll shoot it through. Before we pat our puppies and sink our fangs into the furry-free lore of the Space Wolves, I'd like to talk about this video's sponsor. Raid. Shadow Legends. You might be thinking, my god, Major promoted. Let's get into it. The Space Wolves are a very non-codex compliant legion of Space Marines who basically do whatever they want, especially since the only men who can rein them in have either vanished for unknown reasons or are a dry little french fry sitting on the Golden Throne. The Space Wolves are one of the 20 original Space Marine legions created by the Emperor to conquer the tits out of the galaxy. Their Primarch is Leman Russ, a brash, crude barbarian whose personality has been reconned so many times it looks like he's suffering from some serious bipolar. When the baby Primarchs were yeeted across the galaxy, Leman ended up upon Fenris, a cold, shitty world full of big-ass wolves and cheeky Vikings. Leman was taken under care by some wolves and raised among them till there was a bit of an incident with some hunters. See, the hunters killed Leman's wolf mum, and so Leman did what any 3-year-old kid would do at the time. He killed a dozen grown men until they submitted to him. He was then brought to the king and got adopted. From there he did what every Primarch child does, unites their planet through excessive levels of charisma and violence. Unless you're a shit cunt, like Angron, who gets enslaved. Fucking scrub. Before we continue with their origin story, however, I'm going to list some of their key characters and who they are, just so when I throw a name or two around, you aren't having to ask your Scandinavian friends how to spell it when you want to try and find them on your favourite anthropomorphic role-playing websites. We have the obvious one, Leman Russ, Primarch of the Space Wolves and Papa Wolf. And then we have a fan favourite who is Bjorn the Fell-Hounded, who was a Space Marine serving directly under Russ during the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy. He became the chapter master, or the Great Wolf, upon the disappearance of Leman. He got molested a bit and ended up in a dreadnought, where he currently resides over 10,000 years later. The current leader of the Space Wolves, Logan Grimnar, is another important character of note. With how hot and heavy shit is getting in 40k, Logan has been doing a pretty swell job so far. Anyways, Daddy E gets wind of Leman and arrives at Fenris, sussing out the sitch. Big E becomes Little E and walks into the long hall and challenges Leman. To Leman's credit, he beats the Big E in a drinking contest as well as an eating contest. The Big E was like, listen here, you little fucking shit. You're gonna come be my son. And Leman was like, come on then, you pansy little fucking cunt, I'll knock you out. So Leman learnt the hard way what it's like to be punched in the face by the God Emperor of mankind. Regaining consciousness an hour later, Leman pledged his allegiance to his father and was given command of the Space Wolves. Many Furrinsian, as not how you say it, but bear with me, warriors were a bit jealous of this and decided to undergo the transition to Space Marine themselves. This is not such a good idea, as they were way too old for the surgery and most of them would die. However, the men of Fenris are made of steelier stuff, and the fatality rate was much lower than expected. Honestly, at this point, Fenris is just starting to look like a cold version of Australia. That's right, we're tougher than you. I also have my own Wolves of Fenris, so I'm basically Leman at this point, without the bipolar. The Wolves were fantastic during the Crusade, bringing thousands of worlds under Imperium rule, unlike Angron and these World Eaters who were just kind of genociding everything they came across. You know what? I really think Angron should have been aborted. Anyway, Angron started putting nails in his legion's brains, which made them pretty angry, arguably the second angriest Marines in the galaxy. As such, their definition of Imperial compliance kind of devolved into, the planet cannot be uncompliant if everyone is dead, which, while technically true, isn't considered the optimal path to humanity's domination of the galaxy. As such, the Big E was like to Leman, yo Wolf Boy, the time has come to abort Angron. Go get him and his legion and bring them to me. And Wolf Boy was like, yiff yiff!
But MajorKilll, you just made a furry reference by yiffing. You said you wouldn't.
Shut up, Timmy, you cunt! Fuck you! Yiffing isn't just a noise fairy makes, so I can use it. Leman and his space dogs yiffed to Angron just after he finished bringing another planet under Imperial compliance, and he was like, yo Angron, putting nails into your children's brains and massacring entire planets is actually not the best way to go about things. Maybe you should stop. And Angron was like, I bet you fuck your own dog, you filthy cunt. And no, that wasn't a fairy reference, that was a bestiality reference. Anywho, the space dog fuckers and the nail brain world murderers started killing each other, which I suppose makes sense considering both these legions.
Sorry, I just don't even know what to say about this. This is a very interesting story. I know I'm not reacting very much, but I'm like taking it in pretty much. Anyway, let's get back to it.
Love fighting and war. The World Eaters were getting the upper hand in battle because they're a bunch of psychotic fucks that love death, and Angron was beating Russ. He knocked Russ to the ground, only to find himself in a very abortable position. Leman had baited Angron into a firing circle. In an instant, Angron could be completely blown to shreds if Russ commanded it. However, Angron is once again too stupid to learn anything, so he refused to call off the battle, and Leman was too much of a bitch to kill his brother, so he got his men to retreat. Time went on and the Space Wolves continued to be a bunch of wacky cunts, but still good lads. They kept doing what Daddy told them to do. Unlike Horus, who suddenly decided he didn't want to do what Daddy wanted him to do, and decided to plunge the galaxy into a terrible civil war. When our big old disappointment Magnus got wind of this, he did what any good disappointment would do, his best. And like any good disappointment, his best ended up fucking up everything. Magnus's attempt of dibby-dobbing on his brother ended with him accidentally unleashing a demon horde in the Emperor's palace. Whoops. As such, the Emperor commanded Leman to go retrieve Magnus and bring him back to Terra for a good spanking, because it worked so well with Angron last time. As Leman and his pups approached Prospero to retrieve Magnus, Horus was like, yo Wolf Daddy. When the Emperor said go retrieve Magnus, he accidentally did an autocorrect and he meant go kill Magnus. So after a bit of deliberating, Leman fell for Horus's quality prank and tried to kill Magnus. After a bit of a scuffle, Leman ended with a blade in his heart, however he did snap Magnus's spine, so it was about an even trade. Either way, this turned Magnus to chaos, and left Leman's Primarch fetching skills track record at 0 from 2. The Space Wolves are often known as the Emperor's executioners, and are hinted to be responsible for the annihilation of at least one of the 2 lost legions. At first I thought this was a bit of a shit gag, as they got their ass handed and whooped by them by the World Eaters, and Russ hasn't really had a good track record when it comes to 1v1ing other Primarchs. The Lion knocked him on his ass, Angron knocked him on his ass, he already admitted Horus would knock him on his ass, Magnus was basically allowing the Wolves to beat him until the last second, and he still hurt Russ pretty bad, and well, we all know how a fight between Sanguinius and Leman would go. So scratching my head wondering why the Wolves were basically the Emperor's personal attack dogs, then I realised it. The Wolves are basically uncorruptible and completely loyal. They do what they're told no matter how difficult. Space Wolves also don't really fall to chaos. Like it's happened, but it's very rare. The Chaos Gods have never really tried to corrupt Leman, because they know they can't. Leman, Sanguinis, and Gulliman are all extremely resistant to chaos, which is reflected in their extremely loyal legions. So the Emperor used the wolves as his attack dogs, not because they were the best legion or that it was super convenient having a legion called the Space Wolves being your attack dogs. No, it's because he knew they would follow his orders to a T. It's just a bit of a shame they're a bunch of borderline rabid werewolves. Yes, I'm not joking. Thanks to a flaw in their gene seed, many Space Wolves have devolved into savage warriors known as Wolfen. Once a Space Marine...
There's our furries. I found it. Finally. I just had to look at Leman Russ, and there's our furry. Got it.
has become a Wolfen, they're basically just used as suicidal melee shock troopers, similar to what happens to the Blood Angels when they experience the Black Rage. The Wolfen is most common amongst new recruits, as it occurred when a Space Marine is overcome with rage and bloodlust, or if you make references to them dressing up as animals and fucking each other. But MajorKilll, don't fucking say it, Timmy, if you ever want to see the sun again.
I haven't seen the sun before, you never let me out of this room.
Shut up, cunt, or I'll smack you again. After enduring the Horus bitch fit, a couple Primarchs died and the rest kind of went to sleep or got a bit weird. Russ decided that the Imperium was fine, and his work was done, so he fucked off somewhere and hasn't been seen since. It is unknown if he is dead, in the Eye of Terror, or engaging in strange mating rituals with anthropomorphic creatures of the warp. Either way, he's gone, and he will likely return at some point soon in order to further the plot. Now, since the space doggos destroyed Magnus's planet and snapped his spine, he's had a bit of a grudge against them, which is probably fair enough. As a result of this, Magnus, who was considerably less of a dumb cunt than the Space Wolves, was able to bait their main force away from their home base, the Fang. He then committed basically every single remaining Thousand Sun, along with all of their resources and firepower, into launching a full-scale invasion of the Fang. Yes, this was partially due to him being a spineless salty bitch, but also because he wanted to destroy the Space Wolves' ability to create successor chapters, which they were very close to achieving. The reason they weren't able to create successor chapters previously is because of how fucked their gene seed is from engaging in excessive amounts of unspecified fetishes. With successor chapters, the Space Wolves would grow exponentially and they would pose a massive threat to chaos. The invading Suns had an army of over 2 million warriors, which was considerably more than the small Space Wolf garrison. After a few days of sieging, the Thousand Suns were able to break into the Fang, at which point Bjorn the Fellhounded, who was literally the biggest rapist in the world, was woken from his dreadnought sleep. He proceeded to fuck shit up and buy the Space Wolves a lot of time. However, he could not stop Magnus from breaking into the Space Wolf's gene room, destroying everything, and then killing the only Space Wolf who knew how to create successor chapters. So yeah, Magnus kind of scored a victory there. But because Magnus is a disappointment, he was attacked by Bjorn and 3 other Space Wolves and nearly beaten. Like pretty much any other Primarch would have one-shot these fools, but Magnus barely defeated them. He killed the 3 Space Wolves and wounded Bjorn. Magnus got very salty when he realized Bjorn was present for the Burning of Prospero. However, the main Space Wolf force had returned to the Fang by this point, and they weren't too happy to see their shit getting fucked up. The Great Wolf, aka Big Balls Harek, jumped out to 1v1 Magnus and nearly beat him, but even the biggest disappointment of a Primarch is still a Primarch, and he killed Big Balls Harek and then yeeted the fuck out of there. Although this seems like a massive defeat for the Space Wolves, it was actually kind of a victory. They had lost their chapter master along with any hope of successor chapters. In turn, Magnus's forces were fucked. They lost more than 2 million of their warriors and a fuck ton of ships. On top of this, the effort and resources needed to invade the Fang had left the Thousand Suns empty. Magnus also fucked off to go do some random shit like trying to murder Gulliman, and Leman is too busy trying to open mythical vaults to be an effective leader for his people. As such, the Thousand Suns have very little presence or provide any real threat to the Imperium other than a few select sorcerers, until the plot demands they become threatening again. Yif yif, bitch. And I guess the plot demanded it pretty quick, because the entire star system of Fenris is currently one big ass war zone, full of demons and Thousand Suns, so fuck me, I don't know. The re-emergence of Magnus the Red as well as the return of Gulliman were the final 2 events that were prophesied to occur before the return of Leman, so I'd honestly expect to see Leman with fresh new model pretty soon. I would like to see him return during a big Magnus arc. I'd like to see Magnus regain his shards and become whole again, just in time for a battle with Leman and the Space Wolves. However, this time Leman does not attack and unleash his warriors, but learns from his mistakes. Originally I wasn't too keen on a Magnus redemption, however after binge watching Emperor text to speech, it's something I'm all for. Even if all the missing loyalist Primarchs returned, they'd
That's exactly where I got this idea from.
Will be outnumbered by the current active trader Primarchs, so there's room for one or two of them to get their dicks out of their mouths and come cuddle with Daddy. The return of Bobby G has meant the new Primaris Marines have been added to the ranks of the existing Space Wolves. Although hesitant to accept the new breed of Astartes due to their lack of Furrisian culture, interpret that how you will.
But let me say something. It's messed up that Games Workshop shut them down from doing it. Yeah, I know about that. That's crazy. I mean, Warhammer is their property, but at the same time, how many more people have gotten interested in Warhammer because of the Emperor's text-to-speech? That makes them an asshole, really.
The Primaris, fuck, I need to really learn how to say that. Primaris have been eager to prove their worth and now embrace into the ranks of the Space Wolves. In terms of combat tactics, the Space Wolves like to come across as a disorganized rabble of super soldiers with no real tactics or plan. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. They operate in disciplined pack formations, which heavily bolsters morale and squad cohesion. The doom of most of the Space Wolves' enemies is realizing too late how tactically adept the Wolves are. In saying this, however, all of their brilliant tactics and strategies revolve around getting into close quarter combat, which is in itself pretty fucking stupid. Okay, I've made my verdict. The Space Wolves are dumb as fuck. And they dress up as wolves and fuck each other. But mate, don't fucking say it to me. And that wraps us up here, guys. This is my first time making a chapter specific video, but with all the requests as well as how popular they are, I really wanted to give it a crack. If this video gets 30k views, I'll do another one based on another Space Marine chapter. Let me know which one you guys want me to cover and why in the comments. If you guys want to get involved in projects, chat shit, play games, or just send me nudes, then Discord is the place to be.
Alright y'all, that is the video. Learned a lot about Leman Russ. Some of it I've already known by studying the Horus Heresy and what went on there with the Primarchs. So Leman Russ's name has always been familiar, but like I said in previous videos, I got distracted by the Emperor's text-to-speech during a time when I was running down all the Primarchs. That was the main thing. Got totally distracted. Got to get back into that, but I'm still doing the Emperor's text-to-speech because it's funny as hell. Anyway, you could have been watching anything from anyone, but you were here with me. So I thank you. Like, share, subscribe. To the next video. Peace.
The spanking of your ass shall be thorough and merciless.
Wait, hold on for a second. It seems like there is a biochemical basis for at least the way people identify, demonstrate, magnetize an imaginary category. Something that we need to examine a lot more closely.
You need help.
Looks like we've got another mystery on our hands.